everyone. I'm Jessica Stutzman, and welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. Many focus on environmental protection when they think of the word sustainability. Given that we rely on the natural world for everything we utilize within society, certainly environmental conservation is a key part of sustainability, but it is not the only piece. Joining me today to discuss the full scope of sustainability locally is Dr. Sherry Mason, the Director of Sustainability for Penn State Behrend. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, and please, you can call me Sam.
Thank you, Sam. It's so good to have you back on the show. I don't know if we're going to dive into it today, but I absolutely love when we talk about or we discuss microplastics and all the research you've done. I enjoy that topic and what we can do to help prevent and mitigate the situation. But right now, you've been at Penn State Behrend for 5 years.
I know.
I honestly don't know where the time has gone. I
quickly.
feel like I blinked and you were just starting. So
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's really exciting. It's really exciting. I feel very fortunate to have this role at Behrend and for Behrend to have offered me this opportunity. It's really allowed me to grow as a professional, as a person, and combine all of the things I love into one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really been fantastic.
Did this role exist before you came in, or did they create it and it was good timing?
They told me when they hired me it was kind of both,
Mm-hmm.
So I should definitely give huge shout out to my predecessor, Ann Quinn. She did a fantastic job at Behrend. I think that the role expanded. I think she was more focused on that kind of environmental sustainability that you talked about kind of in the lead into, and that my role kind of took that a little bit further. So this is actually kind of a good time to talk about exactly what we mean by this term or this concept of sustainability. I like to think of it as how do we meet our current needs without impeding or impairing the ability of future generations to meet theirs. Very much kind of consistent with that idea of the Native American traditions of thinking about 7 generations in the future. As moms, I know that that's kind of innate to how we exist. We're always, thinking about that. And so that's kind of the concept of sustainability kind of in a nutshell. There's 3 pillars, right? So the environmental piece is one of those pillars, but we have to recognize that we are a people that live inside an economic system that exists within the environment. And so you really have to consider all 3 of those if you're really going to talk about a society that is truly sustainable. And then this is really encompassed in the goals that the United Nations set forth in 2015, targets to meet by 2030, and these are the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. They go from everywhere from no poverty and zero hunger to decent work and economic growth, responsible consumption and production, kind of thinking on that plastics piece, and moving into those kind of environmental issues, thinking about climate action and life below water and life on land. So it's much more, I think, comprehensive than a lot of people kind of fully realize.
Right.
And so my job, at Behrend is to somehow incorporate those into everything that we do. And so the way that we, kind of one of the first things I did in my role was an assessment of where we are with regard to sustainability. So there's a program called STARS, which stands for the Sustainability Tracking Assessment and Rating System. And it's a way for institutions of higher education across the globe to really understand as a whole how their colleges, universities are doing. In our first assessment, which we completed in 2020, shortly after I started, we had earned a bronze rating, which, to be honest, at the time I was thrilled with because it wasn't the bottom of the rung, but it did definitely show that we had room for improvement. And it's really exciting. Over the summer, we completed our second triannual assessment, and we have progressed to silver. So really
Congratulations on that as well.
Yeah, so it feels really good because you feel like you're making forward progress, but it's really, I love it when we do these assessments because it's a time where you take and you really kind of quantify, you know, the progress that you've made. So it felt really good. And
do you have to reapply for that annually or resubmit?
It's every 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So every 3 years we do this assessment, and I like that time period too, because if you were to do it every year, I mean, it took us 6 months to put together our assessment. So even doing it every 2 years, you would almost feel like you haven't made any progress, and all of a sudden you'd be doing the work again. And so it's a nice kind of period of time where we have 2.5 years to be making changes so that we can progress the next time that we do our assessment as well. So,
and what changes moved you from bronze to silver?
Yeah, I mean, we still have to look at some of that data. It's one of the things I get to do moving forward. But I know one aspect of it, you know, some of the low-hanging fruit that we immediately saw in doing that first assessment had to do with our kind of academic side and getting more programs to incorporate sustainability into their programming. So another shout out here to the School of Business. Because they took that charge very literally, and so now every program within the School of Business at our college incorporates sustainability as part of that program. And so they just that school alone making that kind of commitment as part of their programming did a lot to help our impact. We did a lot more with regard to engagement and kind of communication of that. So, you know, that's just kind of a simple piece. We didn't have a website when I started, and now we do. And I'm currently in the act of remodeling and revamping that website to be more inclusive and more descriptive of all of the stuff that we do. So it's things like that. It's working with our maintenance and operations staff. We've been doing a lot on kind of understanding our waste and recycling management and thinking about how we can move that forward. When we did the Federal House upgrade, we recycled 60% of the waste that was associated with that project. Wow. Which just floored me, because it was a lot of like concrete that got recycled, and I so very impressed with, you know, some of the things that we're doing on that maintenance side, the behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see.
Well, and I think too, just being in the roles that we've been in for so long, I have found that you're chugging along, and I've been doing, you know, this work for like 11 to 13 years now, and like every so often or every couple of years, that person in that maintenance role or in that they change over, and then you're like, oh, I have to re-educate, you know. So you think like check that box, check, and then sometimes you got to go back and start and do it again.
Yeah. So I've told Randy Gearing he can never retire. He can't retire until I do.
Yeah. People cannot retire. Once we've educated you on composting and recycling, you cannot retire.
You can't leave. You're not allowed to leave.
You are stuck.
He argues with me about that, but I'll try and guilt him into staying as long as I can. So.
Yeah. And did you find? I think universities and colleges they're like mini cities in and of themselves.
Absolutely.
Did you find a lot of similarities with like, you know, operating like a regular city or township, or did you find things that are like very specific to the college life?
Both, you know, both are true. So there are certain operations that only happen at a college campus, but I think, when you have to recognize that there's a synergy, right? So, for example, you know, so as part of one of my classes, we did a waste diversion study for the city of Erie. And, you know, in describing that to people on campus, I was saying, well, look, you know, what the city does affects what we can do, and what we do affects what the city does. It's a synergy, right? And so while this project was based in the city of Erie and was focused on city of Erie kind of collection and what, you know, is the potential for them, it's really about what we kind of as a whole can do, because if the city can do it, then that helps us to be able to do it too, right? So we were really looking at, you know, diverting food waste. It's the number one component. I don't know that most people know this. The number one component in landfilled waste is food waste. just waste food. And it's mind-blowing because, I mean, one, there's just so many other things that you could do with that. But two, there's, when that gets buried in a landfill, it produces methane, which is a greenhouse gas. So then you have these kind of unintended consequences. And so what would really be ideal is to pull that, right? And that saves the taxpayer money, right? We're not, and then as the city is not spending money to dump food waste into a landfill, and instead it can be composted and turned into soil, and then that can be used.
Which is all kept local.
Which is all
so
kept
local. So you close the loop locally. So that's, I love composting, so.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, and it's about like supporting the local economy, right? So finding what can we do. So yeah, the target, the real focus of that, right, was conservation compost and then Prism glass for the glass recycling. And it's about not only diverting stuff away from the landfill where we don't want it to go, but also supporting the local economy and local businesses that if we don't support them might go under otherwise, right? And so thinking about, I mean, it's a win-win-win situation, right? It's better for the environment, it's better for the taxpayer, less going into the landfill, and helping the local, businesses and the local economy, right? Because I think it's like 70% of what is spent locally stays local. So, it's just a win all across the board. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's so much that we could unravel. I'm going to move on to the next question because we could just keep diving down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I understand you're the only regional campus that has a sustainability program. What does it look like at Behrend?
Yeah, I'm really proud of that. I think it's a real kind of feather in our cap. When you're looking to the future, I'm like, even just this morning was reading an article, more and more companies are looking for employees that understand what sustainability is, understand how they can incorporate it into their company mission, and they're actually also kind of being required to through various regulations. So like we actually can help to create that body of knowledge in students that are going into the workplace. So we have a minor in sustainability, which again, I'm actually really glad that it's a minor because it's really easy to add on to any major. It's not like you have to major in sustainability. No, major in business, get an add-on with a minor in sustainability. Go into economics, go into engineering, go into even something as simple as writing or English, but have this added toolbox, this added, kind of tool in your toolbox of I'm looking at this from the concept of sustainability. And then, as I tell my students all the time, like I'm not trying to get people that fit into certain niches. What I'm looking for you to do is to diversify and be able to pull this into whatever it is you want to do. If you want to make music, make it sustainably. You want to go into athletics, make it sustainable, because we need, we need people in sustainability and with sustainability mindset regardless of what job they're doing, right? We need our maintenance staff to be, when they're looking at weeds, going, is there another way other than spraying pesticide for me to kill that, right? It's just this whole kind of different kind of mindset. And so we're really educating people across the curriculum with that mindset by having this minor available to our students. So it's really exciting.
More well-rounded.
Exactly. Yeah. Very
Absolutely.
well stated. Yeah.
Penn State Behrend has been described as an open lab. What does that mean, and how do you incorporate your work into the open lab concept?
Yeah. So that's one of our pillars, education pillars as an institution. So I already mentioned one of those examples, right? The waste management project that we did with the city of Erie. So it's taking, as a student, you get these like homework questions and that it's all like perfectly situated so that you can get an answer, right? And then you go to the real world and nothing is that simple, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know you feel that.
And I always look at those as like, that's black and white, and then we're like, and that's, the college answer, black or white, but like, and then you're just living in gray after that. Like, it's like, well, that's a really gray situation. I can totally see why they think that way or why they're doing it that way. And then, but then I want, it totally makes sense we live in gray.
Yeah, and so you need students that have been exposed to that and who are wrestling with that and realizing that, because it just sounds so simple, like, oh, just put solar panels on your roof. It's like, well, can your roof support it? What's the year of your roof? What, you know, I mean, there's a lot more. How are you, where's that energy going? Is it going into batteries? Is it going into the, and how is that all being compensated? I mean, there's just so many layers to something that can seem so simple. And so the open lab is really about getting students to kind of be thinking of and invested in and solving those real world problems. And so the waste management or waste diversion study that we did with the city of Erie is a great example of that. The same year that I had a set of students working on that, this community problem, I had another set of students looking at the campus. And we have a faculty member who, Dr. Pam Silver, who is quite internationally renowned for studying how our increased usage of road salt is actually causing the Great Lakes to become salty. Right? They're becoming salinized. And it's, because you can document kind of this increased usage of this material and the runoff that is associated with it. And so I wanted the students to look at, as a campus, is there a way that maybe we could decrease our salt usage on campus? We want people to stay safe, right? We don't want people slipping and sliding and falling and breaking. We have to be able to clear our parking lots and our sidewalks, but do so in a way that's kind of more environmentally friendly. And we actually, in both cases, both the waste diversion and the salt study, found that with an initial setup cost, of course, we could save the university a considerable amount of money every year by using salt brine as opposed to using rock salt. So basically taking you buy less rock salt, but you take the rock salt that you buy and you turn it into a liquid, you mix it with water, and you apply that before a weather event, and it decreases the need for rock salt. And so we can actually save the university money if we were to make this transition. And so now that I have that data, the next step is to try and see if we can find a way to implement it. We have another group of students that's working on, we have a lot of windows on campus, and looking at quantifying the number of birds that are impacted from the windows, and coming up with solutions to make them more bird safe. So it's things like this. These are like real world problems that we're having either in the community, on the campus, and getting students, teams of students from different majors, different programs, working collectively to find solutions to those problems.
So you have like a curriculum that you follow, but if something is happening in real world time, you incorporate it in.
Yeah, I mean, I teach, so one of the classes I teach is a project-based course. So I get to, and so what I've kind of, over 5 years have kind of developed is that I do 2 projects in that course. So I divide the class in half. This year I have 25 students. And so I do a campus project, I do a community-based project, but we have, classes like that across the curriculum where we're getting students involved in these kind of programs, and projects, and thinking outside of traditional academia. And I think that that's a real kind of feather in our cap in terms of graduating students that are ready to face real world challenges.
And I always felt like, and this is what that sounds like, those field classes, like where you're not in the classroom, but you're in the field.
Yeah.
I always thought they were so much more hands-on, and you learned so much more from them. You know what I mean? So, because you were out, and whether we were in the Allegheny National Forest, or if we were in Pymatuning, just being out of the classroom and working, still applying the book knowledge, but working in the field made a world of difference.
That's it. Exactly. In a nutshell. You got it. Yeah, that's it. That is it exactly. You have to have these academic skills, you have to have that classroom component, but then it's applying that in real world situations that don't fit into these perfect little categories. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. So that's some awesome research you guys have done. What other sustainability initiatives are happening on campus now?
Just today, it's official.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
You heard
Breaking news.
We have 3 electric vehicle charging stations on our campus. I'm just so excited because they finally got turned on. The billing is there. They're live on the ChargePoint app, and it's just really exciting. Because I think we're the only school actually in the region that has them. You know, we're adding to this network of electric vehicle charging stations that we need as a society so that we can electrify the transportation fleet. And so, you know, we have our start now on our own campus. And so I'm just really excited about that because it's been a work in progress for a little while, but they're up and running, and we've had people using them, and so that's really exciting.
Is it for the general public or is it for a campus fleet? Okay.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's a really good question. I should have mentioned that because they're totally open. So you don't actually have to have a parking pass to use them. If you are parked at an electric vehicle charging station, you are completely legal. So the idea, I mean, one of the selling points that I was trying to make was, you know, that you find them on the app, you're looking at your phone, oh, I need to charge, oh, I'll stop at this campus. You'll get people to walk around campus, and it's such a beautiful campus. You never know who you're going to reach. Yeah. I was like, you know, we could have people traveling here to visit a different school, and then they charge their car on our campus, and then all of a sudden, like, they're looking at our school too. Yeah. You know, and so, they're totally open to the camp, to anybody in the community, anybody driving on I-90, and really want to see those being used. So if you want to charge your car, come up to our campus.
How long does it take to charge?
It depends on how low your car is, you know. So, you know, 3 hours with a level 2 charging would take it probably from empty all the way to full. So it depends upon kind of where you are on that scale. Yeah.
Awesome. So. And then Wintergreen Gorge, Phase 2 renovations. What's going on there?
Yeah. I'm glad you asked about that too. Yeah, because that's under my purview. So Phase 1 took us, you know, we created that new trailhead with the 18 parking spaces, refinished the trail up to the Bayfront connector, and that whole thing is ADA accessible, and now we're continuing that. Actually bumped into a colleague of mine who was there over the weekend with his kids, and there were 2 people in wheelchairs, and he told me that, I just, oh my gosh, my heart just melted. I was just so excited because there's not enough kind of public green spaces that are ADA accessible, and so that's a really important part of what we're doing there. So we're continuing that ADA accessibility on up the trail, getting just before Trout Run. That'll be Phase 3. We have to dig out a culvert that's there, and we're going to put in a bridge. Past Trout Run, unfortunately, gets too steep that we're going to have to put in steps, and so there will be a piece of the trail kind of in the middle that is not ADA accessible, but it'll be ADA accessible at the top when we get to that piece, and then the bottom from the Cooper Road trailhead to that Trout Run. And we're finishing up. That should be done. Phase 2 should be done by mid-September, and so you will find that the ADA accessible trail is just continuing on. We have a nice board walk that continues and some nice signage that's going up as well. So
that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Sam, I just could talk to you forever. Our time is almost coming to a close here. So is there anything that you want to wrap up with or share with our viewers that Penn State's doing, or just, you know, just tie us up with a nice, neat little bow?
Oh goodness, how long do I have? So I just want to really quickly mention, because we've done a lot in this space too. We have a great sustainable food systems program that's starting up. We installed a high tunnel last summer, so that's allowing us to extend our growing season. And the food that we grow there currently is being donated for free at some farmers markets, and then we're also giving some out in our Lions Pantry, so we're working on that front as well. And mostly I just want to thank you for the time and the platform to come and talk with you.
Always. I'm so happy to have you back. And like I said, we've completely shifted gears from talking about microplastics, which I really, really enjoy the research you've done. So I just want to thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, and I'll come back and we'll talk plastics another time. Yes. I love talking plastics, you know that.
I know, plastics, composting, sustainability. We've got it all.
We got it.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Viewers, we just had an awesome show about Penn State Behrend's sustainability program. They are doing such neat things that are applied on campus, but also through the community. So if you are interested in anything we talked about, they have a wonderful new website that you can check out. And I want to thank you for tuning in to the Millcreek Government Channel. And until next time, have a great day.